good news to our OFWs. The Department of Migrant Workers said it is hiking the standard minimum wage for domestic helpers abroad from $400. The lowest wage will now be $500 or more than 28,000 pesos. This is under their 8-part reform package for OFWs. And joining us to talk about this is DMW Secretary Hans Cacdac. Good evening to you, Secretary.
Good evening to you, Ms. Cez, and to your televiewers. Good evening to all.
Well, this is long overdue, but how will it be implemented? Through the manning agencies and recruitment
Yeah,
agencies?
yeah, it's fairly simple. Documentation of employers or accreditation of employers and documentation of workers goes through the Department of Migrant Workers. So this includes their contracts, the work contracts, and more particularly the work contracts of domestic workers, which would be the most regulated job category of all. They are the most vulnerable in terms of skill sets of domestic workers. They are the most protected by ILO and international conventions. We are a signatory to every significant convention protecting our domestic workers. So, in line with international labor standards, with a clear directive of the President to protect our OFWs, more particularly our domestic workers, then we have this 8-point reform program or reform measures. And we are bent on implementing the same through our regulatory powers.
I'm curious, no, Secretary Cacdac, this is Sean pala. How do
Hi, Ms.
you,
John.
yes, how do you go about implementing this? Meron bang dialogue muna with the countries where we send our OFWs to before we can make this happen? Or do they just have to sign a paper that we send to them that, okay, this is the new minimum?
Well, the discussions are on various levels. When it comes to bilateral discussions, labor relations, or labor diplomacy, if you will, of course, in full coordination with the Department of Foreign Affairs, then you can have the high level or technical level consultations, which has been happening since the president instructed us to heighten our bilateral labor relations with countries hosting OFWs. So there's been a discussion. There have been times and occasions where I myself have raised this to my foreign counterparts over the last 6 months or year or so. Now, the second level of this will be the matter on implementation or on the matter of a deeper understanding between our country and countries hosting OFWs on how this will be carefully implemented. And more than this, if there could be any other measures, several other measures that can be adopted over and above the 8-point agenda. So, for instance, we are slated to have talks in the very near future with Qatar and Kuwait. So these are among the countries that whom we are slated to discuss in the very near future. But of course, all the other countries hosting OFWs or our domestic workers will all also be engaged on the matter. So first and foremost, as you mentioned, it's the 400 to 500 US dollar minimum monthly wage increase. But more than that, there are many other components, right? 8-point agenda. So that includes what we call the Know Your Employer requirement, which is a video interview prior to departure para kilala na ng ating domestic worker kung sino yung magiging employer niya and vice versa. Meron tayong reskilling, upskilling of standards. Ito, very important. So that there's no such thing as a recruitment trap for domestic workers, meaning female job applicants are not just stuck with one job offer that is to be a domestic worker. So they could upskill to other types of work, whether it could be caregiving, it could be barista work, it could even be technical work or welding. No, there are many female welders. It could be office work or hospitality work, and all these other types of skill sets. And then there was a Kamusta Kabayan helpline. Hindi na kami tatawagan ngayon. Kami na ang mga ngamusta sa mga domestic workers. And we've been piloting this over the last few months with a few host countries already. And then we will also have annual medical checkups for our OFWs. First phase of this will be on a voluntary basis. And then once our budget comes in, then we will invoke this and post this on a mandatory level. There will be stricter standards for accommodation of recruitment agencies, whether local or foreign. There will be a whitelisting across the board. This has been implemented anyway since the time of Secretary Toots Ople, but merely reiterated. And of course, the rights-based approach, something as basic as non-confiscation of passports, observance of contracts, non-substitution of contracts, we will crack down and be strict on these matters. Because, for instance, the non-confiscation of passports, you'll be surprised. Even host countries have laws prohibiting non-confiscation of passports, but we still hear stories of these violated left and right.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask, no, kung first level is the talks and second level is the implementation, is there a third level which is enforcement, and how we can make sure that these rules are actually being followed by everybody?
Yes, of course, the DMW has regulatory authority to regulate the licenses or to impose disciplinary action on the licenses of recruitment agencies here, as well as the accreditation of employers and recruitment agencies abroad. Meaning to say, kapag nag-violate sila ng laws natin or principle or rules and regulations such as the 8-point agenda on domestic work protection, then we will not process the documents of a particular employer, local or foreign recruitment agency. And then of course, for the local recruitment agency, there are even criminal or penalties if they violate such rules and regulations. So it's not just administrative in nature, but criminal as well.